Greetings travelers, and welcome to another Tempo Strategy Wild Hearthstone video. If you've been playing Wild since Scholomance Academy launched, you've sure to have noticed the new Warlock menace that's been taking the format by storm. We're talking about Darkglare Zoo Warlock, and it's becoming one of the fastest and most dominating decks we've seen in some time, capable of building massive boards the likes of which we haven't seen since the heyday of Naga Sea Witch. It's an overwhelming strategy, and it's one that we hope is addressed in a balance change sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, it's one of the most popular decks on the Wild ladder, so you'll want to be ready to deal with it. In this video, we'll go over some tactics you can use to fight back against Darkglare Zoo Warlock on your next climb to Legend. As always, before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Tempo Strategy YouTube channel and to turn notifications on to stay up to date with our Wild Hearthstone content. Now let's begin by breaking down how Darkglare Zoo Warlock operates and go from there. Despite having Zoo in the name, Darkglare Zoo Warlock is more of a combo deck than an aggro deck, even though it can still take control of the board and attack the enemy's face quickly. The key to the deck is its namesake card, Darkglare, and its ability to refresh 2 mana crystals every time its controller takes damage. Warlock has access to quite a few cards that can deal damage to its owner, many of which cost 1 mana or less, and each time you play one of those cards with Darkglare in play, you gain back more mana crystals than you spent, allowing you to chain together card after card to build a massive board. Scholomance Academy has added even more cards that play well with Darkglare, including Tour Guide, which can set up a zero-cost life-tap Penflinger, which can inflict damage to your hero multiple times in a turn, and Raise Dead, which can rebuy any of those cards, including Darkglare itself. The ultimate payoff to this all self-inflicted damage is being able to play Flesh Giant and Molten Giant for 0 mana. With a good draw, Darkglare Zoo can go off and build a full board of minions with multiple giants as early as turn 3. Beyond the core combo, you'll also see Darkglare Zoo bring some tech cards into the mix, such as Animated Broomstick to counter-attack against opposing minions, Lesser Amethyst Spellstone to gain back health, and Loatheb to stifle spell-based removal. Altogether, this deck can build an overwhelming force long before most opposing decks are able to deal with it, but even with all this power and speed, the deck's not completely bulletproof. It is possible to fight back against Darkglare and even have a positive win rate against them by exploiting a few key weaknesses, and we're going to show you how. So let's start with the obvious. Darkglare Zoo relies on building a massive board in order to attack, and if it can't keep minions on the board, it can't win. If you keep the board clear, you can stifle Darkglare Zoo long enough to enact your own game plan, whether it's building a game-winning combo, dealing lethal damage with spells, or grinding them down in fatigue. The key is to use mass removal that's cheap enough to be played in response to Darkglare's first big push. Priest and Warrior have the best options to clear the board that can be used in the early game, including Shadow Word Ruin and Mass Hysteria, which are commonly seen in Reno Priest, and Reckless Flurry and Brawl, which are found in Odd Warrior. Since both Brawl and Shadow Word Ruin are in the classic set, they can both be discovered by Zephyrs the Great, so Highlander decks in every class have the potential to find an answer to a Darkglare board as well. There are some other more obscure board clear options too, ranging from the Lord Barov and Risky Skipper combo in Bomb Warrior to the old Frost Nova and Doomsayer combo in Turtle Mage. It's also not always necessary to have a board clear immediately on turn 4. If the Darkglare player can't play a full board of giants on their combo turn, smaller scale removal can be enough to survive until you can use cards like Psychic Scream or Shadow Reaper Anduin to stabilize. If your deck has options to deal with both small and large boards, you can keep Darkglare off balance long enough to assemble a win condition of your own. There are other ways to stifle Darkglare Zoo beyond simply using mass removal to answer their board. It's possible to delay their combo turns by other means or strategically block their attacks, all in order to buy time to develop your own game plan. One such option that's starting to gain traction is Nerubar Weblord, which increases the cost of Battlecry minions while it's in play. While Darkglare itself is not a Battlecry minion, most of the cards that enable Darkglare are. As a result, a timely Nerubar Weblord can block Darkglare's early development and push back their combo for several turns, which is a strategy you'll see in decks like Aggro Druid and Turtle Mage. Mage secrets like Explosive Runes and Potion of Polymorph can be useful to block or delay Darkglare. Savvy Darkglare players will run out of cheaper minions to test for those secrets, so it's unlikely that you'll take out Darkglare itself with this tactic, but it can be useful to waste the opponent's resources and push back their combo turns, and in the case of Explosive Runes, you can deal additional damage. Beyond preemptive disruption, there are other ways to stall the game even after they've achieved their combo. Single target removal cards are common for control classes, and for aggressive decks, freeze effects like Glacial Shard and sturdy taunts like Zilliax can help block attacks from giants. This last point is especially important important when you consider that Darkglare's counterplay against board-clearing spells will be cards like Loatheb and Cult Neophyte. Having minion-based options will go a long way to preventing you from being locked out by Loatheb. Ice Block can be an effective stall option as long as you're equipped to win the game or stabilize the board on the following turn. In the end, all these removal and stall tactics are all about buying the time you need to win the game on your own terms. Most of these tools are well suited for defensive strategies, but what if you want to be the aggressor? It's still possible for a fast, lean-to-the-ground aggro deck to set up its own board quickly and attack before the Darkglare combo can come online. This takes advantage of another of Darkglare's weaknesses, the deck's reliance on self-inflicted damage to activate its combos. Of course, for this approach to work, you have to be fast, but some of Wild's premier aggro decks are up to the task. Aggro Druid and Kingsbane Rogue can both explode to the board with an early pirate push, then back up the assault with creature buffs in the case of Druid, or weapon buffs in the case of Rogue. The idea is to threaten lethal around Darkglare's combo turn, but keep in mind Darkglare has plenty of tools to fight back. The Zoo player can close out their Darkglare turn by playing Animated Broomstick to give its minion rush and clear your board, or by playing Greater Amethyst Spellstone to remove your biggest threat and gain life back. Taunt minions like Vulgar Homunculus and Hooked Reaver can be problematic as well. You can work around all of this by taking an over-the-top approach to landing the final points of damage. Rogue decks can use Eviscerate or Sinister Strike to close out the game, and you can see Mage decks use cards like Medivh's Valet, Frostbolt, and Ice Lands to similar effect. This tactic can work in tandem with tech options we mentioned earlier, such as with the use of Narubar Weblord in Aggro Druid and Explosive Runes in Secret Mage. With this approach, you can have strong odds to overwhelm the Zoo player before they can gain a foothold, or punish them for cutting themselves too deeply. Altogether, Darkglare Zoo Warlock can be a scary deck to fight against, but it's far from insurmountable. If you're prepared to answer their boards, stifle their combo, or attack their life total quickly, you'll be well on your way to conquering Wild's most intimidating archetype. Keep in mind the meta's still shifting around to adjust to Darkglare, so we're bound to see even more counter strategies emerge as the meta develops. Keep an eye out for our next Wild Meta Snapshot for more expert analysis, and as always, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to stay up to date with our Wild Hearthstone content. Thanks for watching!